Hello everyone, my name is Sarafi and I'm happy to meet you all. Today was supposed to be the Fluffle deck guide, but I'm tired. So we're going to do something a little bit easier for me, which is I'm going to talk about the revealed Vi constellation, the deck, and all of the updates that are coming to Vi. So, for those of you that don't know, Vi is a 5-star champion with Challenger and Tough while I'm in play or in hand. Grant me +1/+0 when you play another card. Max +8/+0. And then she levels up by striking for 10 damage. So, you basically have to, charge up Vi while she's in your hand, slam her down with 10 attack once, and then she levels up. And when she levels up, her leveled up form is a 5-mana 10/5, so you can't lose the 8 attack anymore. And then she has Challenger and Tough still. When I strike a unit while attacking, deal 5 to the enemy nexus. So, that is very similar to Lee Sin. Lee Sin gets Challenger when you play one spell, and then he gets Barrier when you play the second spell, and when he attacks, he Dragon Kicks whatever he challenges. So that means that he strikes the Nexus for his power, and also strikes the unit for his power, and if the unit would survive, it gets returned to the hand instead. So that's Vi. Now let's take a look at her constellation. So before, her effect was, at the end of each turn, give your strongest ally +0/+1 in impact. Then at the 2-star, it was +1 starting mana at the start of the game. Draw 2 cards that cost 2 or less. And then the last thing is the 3rd star was at the end of the turn, give your strongest unit +0/+2 in impact twice. So it's basically like giving Vi some extra health so that she could survive when she attacked, and then also giving additional impact so you could potentially deal more damage to the enemy nexus when you struck a unit. Vi's ability when she levels up is basically impact 5. Except that it doesn't work if you hit the player directly. So, makes sense. Alright, so now we have Relentless Force. When you draw a card, grant your strongest ally +0/+1 in impact. Okay. So at the base value, this is essentially the same thing as the first power, but it can trigger multiple times if you can draw multiple cards. Cool. The 2-star power is exactly the same. +1 starting mana, game start, draw 2 cards that cost 2 or less. This, I feel, is a huge miss. I do not like game start effects for any of the powers. I realized that Talia, when she got reworked with a constellation, has game start summon 1 rock bear, and that's what she does. And then she gives herself and all of her other units +1/+1 and overwhelm, which is pretty decent for a 3-star power. And then you have other characters that have start of game effects, like Nami draws a spell at the start of the game, but I don't think that any of those are good. I think that a character should have powers that are dynamic, that are constantly useful to them. When you compare having 2 extra cards in your opening hand to Jin giving any unit that plays a skill +1/+1, or Misfortune drawing a unit every time a 1-cost unit attacks, or what else can we say? Volibear, whenever you summon a Titanic ally, it strikes a unit. Like, these are all effects that are dynamic. They respond to what you're doing in the game, and as long as you're playing the character correctly, you get rewarded. This is not playing the character correctly, but that's the problem. I'll get to that in a minute. So I feel like this is a huge miss, the 2-star power. Relentless Force 3, when you draw a card, grant your strongest ally +0/+2 and 2 impacts. This is, again, basically the same thing as the original 3-star power, except it can trigger multiple times in a turn if you draw cards. Fine. Now, for the 4-star power, this is always going to be a power that exists in the game already, either epic, rare, or common, although epic powers are given very sparingly. I think only Misfortune has one so far. Allies have Overwhelm. Crush is very common. Darius doesn't have it. Viego has it. Lux Illuminated has it. I think a few other characters have it. It does synergize with Vi to be able to, like, if you attack a unit, you get impact and you get overwhelmed to do a lot of damage. That's fine. I don't think that many of her other units will be able to utilize it very well, though. Mana Flow, Game Start, get a Mana Gem. That's always going to be the same. I think only Kaisa has something else besides Mana Flow. And then lastly, the 6-star power. We run these streets. When you play a card, grant allies in hand +1/+0. So essentially every card becomes Vi, except that it doesn't have a cap, and it stacks with Vi's existing power, so Vi will get her power twice as fast. That's pretty good. Being able to get Vi more power as fast as possible is useful, and unlike the 1 and 3-star powers, which are typically used by characters to advance their primary game plan and help the character level up, this 6-star power actually does that. Like the other ones only affect a unit that's on the board and only affect their health. That doesn't help Vi strike for 10 power. This 6-star power actually lets Vi do her job, which is fine. I don't think that it should be on the 6-star power, though. I think this should definitely be like a 3-star power. Now, as far as whether it's good enough, maybe. The real problem with all of these powers is that they have a heavy emphasis on draw, and if we look at Vi's starting deck has not changed. They have changed the rewards, the level up benefits for a couple of cards. They have not told us what that is yet. We will see that with the patch notes. But at present, only one of these cards draws a card, which is Veteran Investigator. Also, I think I might be wrong about this. I probably am. But I think Vi is the only character in... Well, no, she's not. But it's pretty rare for a character to not have their champion spell in their deck. No, because she doesn't have it on Dancing Renee. I feel like Vi would really benefit from having her champion spell in her deck so that you could put like an item reward on it, because casting that spell 3 times is really difficult, and Vi is really the only one who benefits from that, and even then she only really benefits from it if you suck at charging her up. So I feel like that card needs to have some sort of item card on it that benefits from you playing it multiple times in a turn. So I would really have liked to see that card get added to her starting deck, just like how Morgana has Invoke on hers. Set has... What does Set have on his? I can't remember what Set's does, but it's pretty good. And a few others. This is fine. As far as her starting deck, it's bad, but that's the problem. So none of this is going to make Vi fun or good, and a lot of people are arguing right now about whether this is a good rework or not. It's not, and the problem is not the Constellation. The Constellation did what it could. The problem is Vi itself. Vi is not a card that is particularly well designed. Like I said, she has a lot of overlap with Lee Sin. She is able to challenge a unit and then strike that unit for some power and deal additional damage to the enemy nexus. Darius does that. Alawi does that. Alawi does that way better than anyone else does that. So Vi is just not special. She doesn't have anything that makes her unique. And she doesn't have a deck. That's the real problem. Like, these cards that they gave to Vi, Astute Academic, Poro Cannon, Eager Apprentice, Mystic Shot, these are like Ezreal's cards. Like, discarding cards and targeting enemies, that's Ezreal and Jinx. Veteran Investigator, drawing cards, that's Caitlyn. Patrol Wardens costing less if you draw it, again, that's Caitlyn. Chump Wump, that's Teemo. Gotcha, it's still Ezreal, because it does reward you for drawing cards, but it's still like a targeting the enemy effect. So, like, this whole deck is just Ezreal, Caitlyn, and Jinx, and Teemo. It's not Vi, but the problem is Vi doesn't do anything. You need like a couple of cards to make Vi get her attack up, and then when she gets the attack up, what does she do? She just strikes the enemy. She doesn't have like a deck that's built around her, and that's true of a lot of the early champions. But when you look at a new champion like Renekton, for example, Renekton is very similar to Vi. Renekton is a champion that kind of stands by himself. He has a lot of attack when he attacks, but he has unique synergies. He gets benefit when he challenges an enemy, but he does not have Challenger. So you either need to use Shuriman cards to give your opponent vulnerable, or you need to use Demacian cards to give Renekton Challenger. And that has synergy with Jarvan. So Renekton and Jarvan were kind of released around the same time. They were meant to work together. Makes sense. So Renekton is a much better example of a character who actually has a deck, because Renekton does not function on his own all that well. You want to use cards to support him. Vi is not like that. Vi does get benefit from other cards being played, but all she needs to do is hit that magic number of 10, and then she's just a standalone card that hits. And by the way, a 10-5 with Challenger and Tough that strikes the enemy nexus for 5 is not nearly as good as a 5-5 Overwhelm that gets +3/+3 every time it attacks. So Renekton is much better than Vi, and also cheaper, and has a deck. So, Vi needs to be reworked, and Vi needs cards that are released to support her. Legends of Runeterra has said they are not going to release any more cards. So Vi is just not ever going to be a champion that functions. Now, that's on them. They can say that they need to focus on reworking things and making more. They need to focus on making more money and making their product sustainable. That's all well and good. This is not a good idea. If you are limited, you can't rework cards, you can't release new cards to support existing cards, then don't rework a champion that's bad. Vi did not need... I understand that there's like a draw because of Arcane. That's not going to make... Like, people who like Arcane are still not going to play Vi because she's not fun. You didn't do anything to make her fun. Oh, if you play cards, the cards in your hand get stronger. Okay, what does that do? Now Vi can hit the board and she can attack and she has Overwhelm and whatever. That's not fun. And give her an ability that makes her unique. Off the top of my head, you can rework her to be like when I'm summon a Hextech Gauntlet, and when I attack, the Gauntlet attacks instead of me, and the Gauntlet is like mobile, and the Gauntlet has power based on maybe how much damage Vi has taken, maybe how many cards that you played, something like that. But then Vi can attack with both gauntlets at the same time, and each gauntlet gets power based on however much damage, and then maybe one of the gauntlets has Challenger and the other has Overwhelm or something like that, and then the opponent can react to this by either removing one or two of the gauntlets, or they go after Vi herself, and maybe Vi's harder to remove than the gauntlets are. That's one idea. You could easily take a character like Vi and make her feel different than other characters. If you just want to emphasize the fact that she has a lot of power and that she's a diver, I'm sorry, there's too many of those already. Like, Hecarim is better than this. Darius is better than this. Any champion that inherently has Overwhelm is better than a champion that strikes for 5. That's just how it is. So, and Tough is not good enough. She only has 5 health. I understand that the power gives her more health every turn, but that's still that's only making up for an inherent flaw in the card. You can't do that. If you want Vi to see play, fix the card. All right. Anyway, Caitlyn's probably going to be revealed tomorrow. I'll probably cover that as well, and then the patch notes when they come out. My name is Serafi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.